Hi, I'm Evan Kitchens, and I'm doing this TED Talk with Jack Williams. We recently read a book called Think Like a Freak. Have you ever not been able to solve a problem, or maybe you thought you solved a problem but end up failing? Maybe you just can't make decisions. Well, this book, Think Like a Freak, doesn't solve your problems. Only you can solve your own problems, but this book does give insights and strategies on how you can improve your problem solving and decision making life. I learned a lot from this book. One of the things I learned is not to go what the crowd says or does and to make your own decisions. Well, what does think like a freak mean? Thinking like a freak means to not go with what the crowd does. More importantly, follow statistics and not let your emotions get in the way of your decisions. Thinking like a freak can be thought of as weird or not the normal thing to do. It's really embarrassing if you end up failing doing a problem or solving it a different way. That's why a lot of people don't think like freaks. People will focus more on the private benefit because of the fear of shame. We get these biases and knowledges from people that we are around a lot, spend time with. So this means like family, friends, maybe teachers, classmates, etc. Part of the reason why we go with what the crowd does is because we want to run with the herd. If you saw your parents doing something, you're going to want to copy that, even if it may not necessarily be the right thing to do. A term used in the book that I think summarizes what I'm saying is called the economic approach. This approach means to try to solve problems based off data and not a suspicion, or base your decisions off straight facts and your opinions. Don't let that get in the way, and focus straight on the facts, numbers, graphs, whatever provided in front of you, and not your own opinion. You can believe whatever you want. I'm not trying to say to stop believing in what you believe. No one can change what you can believe. I can't change what you believe. However, when it comes down to statistics and what is really in front of a person, you can't change facts. You can change opinions, but you can't change facts, no matter what your beliefs are. A term for your biases and knowledge and you following your biases and knowledges is your moral compass. And in the book, Levitt and Dubner, they use the term putting away your moral compass. This means to, again, put away your bias and focus on the facts in front of you. Don't let your biases get in the way. I think why a lot of people don't put away their moral compass is because they may be religious. They may have been brought up to believe in certain political beliefs, and this influences their biases very strongly. When you're taught something at a very young age, it's hard to forget about it or ignore it. So it's hard to just base your opinions off of facts. How exactly do you solve a problem though? I found one of the most effective, if not the most effective method from this book was to use a 3-step method. First step is to generate a big list of ideas. For example, I could not find myself putting down my phone and focusing on my homework when I get home from school. It was an issue I struggled with, and I wasn't sure how to get myself to put away my phone and do my homework. So I generated a big list of ideas. I had 7 ideas. The ideas were setting myself a screen time limit, make myself like a mental note. If I do get on my phone, then I have to do 50 push-ups. My third option was to only use my computer as an internet source, not Google things or look up things on my phone, because then I would get distracted because I would go to different apps. So I could only use my computer for my internet source. My fourth option was to just text all my friends, not to text me until 8 p.m. So then I won't have any temptations to go on my phone because I won't be texting people. My fifth option was to just delete social medias that I didn't need, like TikTok and Instagram. Their only purposes are to entertain me. They aren't necessary to my life. They aren't even necessary to communication to my friend. Though I was thinking about just deleting those. Number 6 was to tell my parents my problem that I have with my phone, and to just have them take away my phone until I can prove to them I finished all my homework, then they can give it back to me. And my final option was to create a shortcut on my phone so that every time I open a social media app, it would automatically send an embarrassing picture of me to all my contacts. As you can see from my ideas, some seem like reasonable ideas, some seem like ideas that I might not just follow because I could just ignore without any punishment, and some of these ideas are just straight up crazy. But that's okay. That's the point of thinking like a freak. Think of every single idea, good or bad, write it down. That is how problems are solved. The second step with this method to solve a problem is to have a cooling off period. Again, I was explaining earlier how biases and knowledge can get in the way of you making a decision. So before picking an option from the list that I made, I had a lot of opinions on what ideas I thought were good or bad, and so I needed a cooling off period. So I went to bed. So then my opinions would go away, or I could form new opinions. The third and final step is to then sort the good ideas from the bad and make a decision. So after sleeping on my ideas, I was thinking that the last option, that was crazy. Like, I was not going to send an embarrassing picture to all my contacts. It's just stupid. I wrote it down anyway because why not? But I actually found out after sleeping that my third idea, which was only using my computer as an inner source and not using my phone as an internet source, and my last idea, creating a shortcut that sends an embarrassing picture to all my contacts when I open a social media app, was actually the most effective methods for solving my problem that I have, which was getting on my phone and not being able to focus on my homework. 3, I thought was a good idea because then I wouldn't be tempted to go on my phone, obviously, because I would be on the internet on my computer and not my phone. I wouldn't mess around and play games or watch videos on my computer because I just don't use my computer for that. And I also thought 7, surprisingly, as I said, was a good idea. It was the most outrageous idea at the time when I wrote it, but it's the most effective. I can just still go on my phone I can just decide to use my phone as an internet source. Who's going to stop me? There's no punishment there. So I actually thought 7 was effective because if I do go on my phone, there is a punishment for me, as a picture would be sent to all my contacts, and I don't want that. There's other methods too. I could set a screen time limit on my phone. Again, I would know the password though. I could just put in the password, there would be no consequence.
Another big thing that is talked about in Think Like a Freak is thinking like a child. This refers to not overthinking things and going with your gut feeling, as well as trying to dumb things down to try and make them better to understand. Think about a test in school, for example. A lot of the time you could overthink a question because you think the problem is too hard, when it turns out to not be at all. You could be getting questions that are very easy, but you aren't looking at them the right way. By trying to think like a child in this scenario, you can reword the problem to sound less complicated and something that is understandable for children. Then, you can answer the question because you understand it now. You could then think about ignoring your limitations. This is when you start thinking outside the box and getting outside your comfort zone. You could try and find a different approach to your problem and see what you usually don't do. You could then think about the root cause of the problem. This is the big one. Finding the root cause can sometimes very easily solve your problem. It really gets your brain thinking about what your actual problem is. In the example that we have, the root cause can be something that you might not think originally. It could even be something that you're causing yourself, like goofing off in class or not paying attention to the teacher, or even your low willingness to try in the class. These are the things that you need to be fixing instead of assuming you're not the issue. Alright, the next example for this is the causes of poverty and famine. Many people think that the causes of this are very straightforward. There's a lack of food and money. This, however, is a very basic cause. The causes for poverty and famine are much deeper than the surface level response. They could be seen as a lack of food and money, but there could be also outside factors influencing this problem. An example could be a corrupt government hoarding food and money, therefore people being poor and starving. For other problems that you're facing, you may need to think simple first. There may be a very simple solution that you're not thinking that could easily fix your problem. Take student test scores in China, for example. Teachers in China were wondering why students were getting such low test scores. Researchers decided to think small about this problem. Researchers found that an extremely small percentage of people who needed glasses actually owned them. They knew that if you can't read or see well, learning would be much more difficult. So, by giving students glasses that needed them, they would be able to see easier, learn easier, and therefore get higher test scores, which is exactly what happened.
What we learned from Think Like a Freak and thought was most noteworthy to take note of is to not let our biases and knowledges get in the way, effective way to solve problems, to think like a child, ignore limitations, and find the root cause of our problems. We wanted to gear our talk towards students, and as we are students ourselves, we thought we learned a lot from this book, so we wanted to share with other students. We also wanted to gear it towards business owners, as we felt they need to find problem-solving ways a lot. We used a lot of storytelling methods and examples in our presentations, as we felt in the book. This is what we could understand, is when the authors would use examples or storytelling. We thought we could relate or understand what they were saying better when they did that. Our experience with recording was rough. To figure out what we wanted to say, we looked back on our past analysis questions to decide what we thought was most important. We wrote down on a Word document and divided it up and decided what we felt like we could best explain. We then separately recorded and made a video that tried to sound smooth. This experience was harder than we expected, as we thought video editing and recording would flow better and be easier to work on together. However, it was not. Making the Word document and thinking of what we were going to say was easy, however, which was good. Thank you for watching.